I divide the gameplay of The Last of Us into three parts. You have your exploration, you have the stealth gameplay, and then you have combat, which is like the third-person shooter brawler elements. Let's start off with exploration.
Good.
Without getting into the story too much, The Last of Us has you get from point A to point B. And on your way to point B, you're gonna run into
What was that?
goons, zombies, stealth, and combat gameplay. So a large part of the game has you preparing for that. The better half of the exploration is you going through these post-apocalyptic areas, gathering loot that you can craft into offensive items or defensive items. There's also some puzzles scattered around too. Puzzles like having Ellie get on a pallet because she can't swim, or I'm just kidding. There's more than that, but it's all super light. There's a really important element to the exploration that I'm not going to get into yet, but I'm going to foreshadow it right here because video structure reasons. As you're exploring these areas, you'll find that some of them are occupied, which leads you to the stealth gameplay. I'm going to be honest with you, the game isn't Metal Gear Solid. It's not even really The Last of Us Part 2. The stealth gameplay is really straightforward. Crouch around some objects, get some stealth kills, maybe set a trap. I don't set traps. Do some redirection. The stealth gameplay is really about your reflexes paired with your resource management. You'll find yourself in situations like, if I can just get out of this guy's way, I won't have to use my only 2 bullets that I have. How about I just use this bottle instead? But stealth doesn't always work.
Man down! Man down!
The whole resource management and reflexes statement applies here too, but it leans a bit more on reflexes. In this game, you play as Joel. He's more of a tank brawler type of character, so sometimes fighting can cost you less resources than if you were to get into a shootout. But honestly, the shooting gameplay and the fighting is simple. So if the exploration is simple and light, and the stealth and the combat are also simple and light, what makes this gameplay so good? What is the secret element that you foreshadowed a few minutes ago? It's the presentation. As you probably already know, this game is a remake of The Last of Us that came out in 2013, and this remake is yeah. The game's exploration, stealth, and shooting are all amplified by S-tier animation, textures, lighting, sound design, and physics. It's an experience. Along with that, for the remake, they changed the flow of the game. The way that Joel fights is different. It's not drastic, but there's things that Joel simply can and can't do versus the original game. The way that enemies fight different too, and they fight different. The way that they flank you and hold positions, it feels like you're fighting real players. So not only does this game feel more difficult, it just feels more real. We're going to talk a little bit about the story of this game's development and its release. The beginning of this is blurry because it mostly just comes from leaks and me watching PlayStation news all day. Somewhere around 2019, we learned about this secret San Diego studio at PlayStation. Not much info on what they're working on. All we knew was that they were developing AAA games based on established IP. We just thought it was Uncharted or something. Seemed right to be Uncharted because Naughty Dog was mostly done with Uncharted, but an Uncharted movie was still coming out. Yeah. Later, a Bloomberg article drops talking about the Sony Visual Arts Group. This team is amazing. If you ever wondered why PlayStation Studio games consistently look so good, one of the reasons is because of this Sony Visual Arts Group. To keep it simple, they help other studios at PlayStation make their games look good. They worked on animations and motion capture cutscenes and stuff like that. What we found out in this article was that the secret San Diego studio was composed of 30 members that were once on the Sony Visual Arts Group. They wanted to make something bigger, something that was theirs, and they knew they had the skills to do it. Seems like initially they were gonna remake the first Uncharted, but that was gonna take too much, and I've played the first Uncharted, so yeah, it probably was gonna take too much. So they started remaking The Last of Us, mostly applying their new skills and technology for animation to the old Last of Us motion capture data. They made some good progress, but for whatever reason, Sony just wasn't fully supporting it. And Sony ended up giving the project to Naughty Dog, and the secret San Diego studio mostly disbanded. Yeah. So, Summer Games Fest 2022 ended with the announcement of The Last of Us Part 1. While people like me were crying because of how beautiful it looked, other people had questions. Questions like, why? Why does this game exist? Why does it cost $70? And the answer that we were getting was, it's rebuilt from the ground up. That's a half-truth, and as much as I love PlayStation and Naughty Dog, a half-truth is basically a lie. I made a point early in this video to say that the stealth and the shooting and the exploration were, enhanced, upgraded, updated, but certain things like the looting and the puzzles is pretty much untouched. And as much as I need to stress how much work was put into this remake, saying that the entire game was rebuilt from the ground up.
Stop the cap.
So when the gameplay leaked about a month before the release, people weren't happy. Now that the game is released and we can see it for what it is, it's a really good remake. What's the point of a remake if not to be the definitive experience? And this game is definitely the definitive experience. So the game got good reviews and a lot of the community ended up coming around to it. I chose to do my project on The Last of Us Part 1 because I find the time that we're in pretty interesting. When The Last of Us Part 2 dropped, it had remade scenes from The Last of Us Part 1, and that made me really want a complete remake of the first game. That way there could be a really cool, seamless experience, but I was thinking Sony wouldn't do that. It would cost too much, it's not viable. After years of development, we now have that remake of The Last of Us, with the very best real-time visuals. And now millions of gamers are voting with their wallets on whether or not it actually was viable. I hope it was. Yo, what's good? You made it to the end. Welcome to what was supposed to be a unscripted bonus section at the end of this video, but I've found myself re-recording this bitch 3 times. You know what I'm saying? There's a couple things I wanted to say. One, it's crazy how everything in the gaming industry is just vote with your wallet. It's just vote with your wallet. It's the biggest realization that I've came to in the past few months, is that everything is just vote with your wallet, bro. And when it comes to this game, I'm losing the vote. Sad case. 2, I didn't spend the full 70. I would not have originally spent the full 70. Maybe after playing it, I would have spent the full 70 on the game. It's a great game, bro. But it's like, if you played the first one, you either gotta be a super fan, or you have to be someone who hasn't played the first one, and then you can then $70 starts to make sense. And lastly, this is a different type of, you know, video for the channel, low key. I was trying to do something like a video essay, but I had to start cutting stuff down. Like, it was taking too long. The script was way longer, and a lot of the jokes that were in there, they just wasn't hidden. Them jokes was not hidden the same way when I started actually recording it, so that was dead. I had to cut a lot of that stuff out too. But yeah, if you guys like this video, let me know in the comments. Like, that pushes me way more than a like would, honestly. But yeah, thanks for watching the video, guys.